Hey everyone,
Hey.
I guess I don't need a mic, there's only a few of us here for right now. I'm sure we'll have other people trickling in. But I am Myra Cisse, the new president of the GCA Georgia chapter. I wanted to come and talk with you a bit about some upcoming programming that we have. On August 22nd, if you are not already aware, we are having our, hello, come on in, up to the front please. Yeah, we've got, we're doing this virtually, so we've got to kind of fill up this part of the room so she can see.
Most definitely.
Yeah, but on August 22nd, we have heard, first of all, from you, our members and guests, that you want more programming that's going to help you to win contracts, that you want more events like what we did in March with the GSA and the prime contractors that were here. So we are delivering that to you. So on August 22nd, we are having the CDC here, we're having City of Atlanta here, and Georgia Department of Transportation. So Gwen Miles, as you know, is with the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization at CDC. Kimberly King, she is the director, the EEOC director at Georgia Department of Transportation. And then Mr. Larry Scott is, what is he, director of Contract Compliance at City of Atlanta. So they're going to be here on a panel. We're going to have Carol Thompson with the SBA that's going to offer a keynote speaker, and it's going to be a great event where you want to come get your questions answered, meet those individuals as key decision makers at these agencies so that you can have the opportunity to win contracts. Okay. There's more. I've said that way too many times in the videos, I can't do it again. But we are going to be having GCA's first annual capability pitch competition during this event. So I know, I'm so excited. I hope y'all are too. We are going to be getting up to 50 people to register to pitch their business. And during the entire month of August, during our Wednesday workshops, we're going to be preparing you on how to effectively pitch to these agencies. So on that first Wednesday, we're going to have a training class all about preparing what a capability brief is, how you consolidate that to a 3 to 5 minute presentation to make an effective pitch to agencies. The next week, Wednesday, we're going to have a City of Atlanta official that's here to provide you with feedback on your pitch. And then on the 15th, we're going to select the top 10 finalists. Or on the 8th, we do the 10 finalists.
On the 8th and the 9th, we go through the 50.
Yes, we go through the 50, narrow it down to 10 during a 2-day period on the 8th and the 9th. And then on the 15th, those 10 will pitch. And we're going to select the top 3. And those top 3 are going to, during that event on the 22nd, be able to pitch their business in front of CDC, in front of City of Atlanta, in front of Department of Transportation, and we've got 5 judges as well. So right now, we only have 4 of the 5 confirmed. J.E. Dunn Construction is one of the judges. Aerotropolis Atlanta is another of the judges. We've got GSA confirmed as a judge. Hopefully it'll be Brian Stern, the new regional administrator, but it may be one of his deputies. And then Women in Defense, Miss Annette Wright from Women in Defense. So do what you can to prepare yourself to register for that. Every member that comes to these regularly, there's no excuse for you not to sign up. I don't want to hear, I'm not ready, I don't know enough yet. Those are all excuses, and right now we put this information out to all of the speakers, the presenters, the moderators, the judges, and Gwen Miles has already sent several people in. So we've got non-members that are coming in, paying the higher price to participate in this because they see what tremendous value it is. I just implore you, don't let somebody come into your house and take what we're setting up for you. So that's it for me. And
Thank you, Ms. Myra.
You are welcome.
Yes, so the emails have already gone out. People have already started signing up, and seating and space is limited, so make sure you do go ahead. We have a special rate for our members. So if you just want to attend, that's a special rate, but I implore you all to go ahead and sign up and be in the pitch competition. The other thing I want to make sure you all know is next month in July, we will not be having a Wednesday workshop class on the 4th of July. We will continue classes on the next week on the 11th. That class, the 11th, will be FAR regulations, learning about that. That's a very important class. We haven't had that course. So Annette Wright will be here teaching that. You definitely want to be here for that. After that, we'll have a class by the Cyber Defense Organization, which is one of our sponsors. And then the next week, we are supposed to have Ruth Washington cost proposal analysis being done on that week. So we got a great month planned out for July as well. If you have questions on that, just go to the website, sign up for it. If you have questions that you need to ask, just come and see me. All right, now today's presentation is being taught by one of our partners from Action Coach. Action Coach will be here on Friday as well. This is a lead-in into what they'll be doing on Friday. They're known for helping commercial businesses that are established to grow and scale to whatever level they want to go to. And our members have found great value in these courses taught by Action Coach. And today's teacher is Ms. Angie Gabronsky, and I'll allow her to continue to talk about herself and about the great service that Action Coach can offer you. All right, thanks, Angie.
Thank you. Okay, hi, this is kind of fun to realize how technologically advanced we all are today, because I am in just outside of Washington, D.C., and you guys are in Atlanta, and there's other people on the phone, and we're going to have a great interactive session. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up not the child of highly successful business owner parents. My father was a mailman and my mother was a typist. And I decided at some point when I was about 7 years old that I actually wanted a different life from what I was living. I know that was a teacher that planted that in my head. And that was the day I decided I was going to go to college and see where that would take me. And so I did. I grew up and I worked my way through college by having a full-time job while taking a full-time course load. And I graduated and I went off and I spent 20 years working in the world of high fashion. It was super fun. I lived in DC. I worked in New York. I traveled not only the country, but the world. I worked for major brands that you guys have heard of, like Liz Claiborne and Monet Jewelry and things like that, and really had the time of my life. Really opened up for me the concept of a life that existed beyond which I believed or knew existed. I tell people to this day that I have lived a life that I could not have dreamed of as a child. And it's really by just going for it time and time again. And that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So in 2007, which at the moment in time seemed like a good idea, but in retrospect, I probably should have waited, I decided to quit my corporate job and start my own business as a business coach, teaching other people how to grow successful businesses. I don't know how many of you remember 2007 very well, but 2007 seemed like a great time to start a business. Housing market was on fire. Everybody was making money. There was lots of cash to spend. And then that didn't last very long. As you will recall, the market crashed and business got all their credit cut off. And we fell into the worst recession that we've ever had in our lifetimes. And that got very scary for me as a single parent with no income. But I was focused on what I was going to do. And as everybody was saying to me, I think you should, go get a job. I said, nope, I'm going to make this work. And I did. So it's now 2018, 11 years later. I'm sitting in front of you as a successful business coach, happy that I was able to have the perseverance to do everything in my life that I needed to do to make that happen. I joined Action Coach in 2007. That is an international organization of coaches that are dedicated to helping people be successful in whatever business endeavors they choose. I am also certified to train the Jack Canfield Success Principles. If you've never heard of Jack Canfield, he is most famous for Chicken Soup from the Soul series books, which he wrote. He's also written a whole bunch of other books. And today we're going to lean heavily on some of his work. One of the things that I've discovered is that there are certain principles of success that apply to every single person. And all success principles work for everybody if you apply them. And I'm excited to be able to teach some of the key success principles to you today. So who's ready to be challenged a little bit in what you think it takes to be successful? You guys ready? All right. Okay, so here's the secret. If you know the combination to the lock, it doesn't really matter who you are. It has to open for you, right? So if you have a combination lock and you know the combination, when you put the combination in, the lock opens. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, tall or short, fat or thin, black or white, doesn't really matter who you are. Once you know the secret, then you can make it open. You need to know both. How does a combination work? How does a combination lock work? You need to know both the numbers and the sequence. And that does help hold true in success principles as well. There is sort of a sequence that you need to adopt them in order to make it work. And I'm going to teach you guys today the key principles. I first learned this work from Jack Canfield more than 10 years ago, and it significantly changed my life. So I can't wait to share this with you today. These are some books you may have heard of: The Success Principles, which are 64 principles that always work; The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, which is the long version of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich; 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I want you to know all this work comes out of the same place. Every one of these masters that I've ever read about being successful, their work draws from the same foundation of work, and that foundation was done about 100 years ago by Napoleon Hill. If you don't know the story of Napoleon Hill, he was hired by Andrew Carnegie, yes, that Andrew Carnegie, to go around the country and interview the business titans of the day and learn what made them successful. And so the people he was talking to were Thomas Edison and Henry Ford and the Rockefellers and the Carnegie and the Steel people. These are, you know, the men that created our company is who he interviewed. And what he really came up with is there's 16, it's really 15 things that everybody had in common. And then all of the work is built out from this. So what I'm teaching you today is the same things that Henry Ford used to make him successful, that Rockefeller used to go from being a bookkeeper to a titan. These things do work for everyone. They're just not so easy to implement, but knowledge is power. The promise of following the success principles is this: you can double your impact. And what that really means is no matter what you're trying to achieve, you can double it. So if you're trying to double your revenue, you could do that. If you're trying to double your reach, you could do that. If you're trying to double the impact that you make on the world, you can do that. But you can double your impact. At the same time, double your free time. Yes, it takes hard work to be successful, but it doesn't take all of your time to be successful. And then the last 3 are really why we work. If you ask me, it is to have more balance and more fun and to achieve greater emotional fulfillment and inner peace. You know, part of the game of being successful is not just playing the game, trying to be successful. That wears you out. It is actually reaching a level of success where you are having balance and fun, and you have emotional fulfillment and inner peace, and you know that the work that you're doing is making the impact that you want on the world. That's what I hope to help you guys learn how to do today. One of the key things you need to understand is this: you can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. This internal work has to be done by you. You can hire people to teach it to you. You can hire people to hold you accountable for it. You can hire people to pick you up when you fall down, but you must do the push-ups. So none of this is stuff you can say delegate to your staff. It's stuff you do yourself, and then you teach it to your staff, and that's how your business truly becomes great. One of the things that I have written down on my wall is this: if it's meant to be, it's up to me. You cannot sit around and wait for other people to give you the opportunity to reach your greatness. If you want to be great, it is up to you to become great. I have this on the wall in my office. It's helpful to remind myself when I feel like other people are getting in the way of my ability to be successful. So I'd like you guys to take a moment and repeat this after me. So I'm going to say it and then you say it. All right. So if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
If it's meant
now you guys.
It's up to me.
All right, you got it? If it's meant to be, it's up to me. If it's up to be, if it's meant to be, it's up to you, right?
That's right.
Okay, the first success principle, and this is the hardest one because we think we do it and we don't. You must take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. And on the surface, that sounds very simple, but in reality, it's very deep and complex. We think that we take responsibility for our life and our results, but we do not. And I want you to think about the 100% responsibility until you can get to a place where you can sit back and say, everything that has occurred in my life is a result of my choices, my actions, my thoughts, and my beliefs. You are turning your power over to other people. Once you understand that success is taking 100% responsibility for your life, everything gets a lot easier. It's a hard principle to swallow, but the effects of it are much easier. Now, how many of you guys think that most of the time you take 100% responsibility for your life? Right? How many of you think that sometimes you do not?
Sometimes.
Right, because sometimes we don't, right? And my favorite simple example of not taking responsibility is when you're late for an appointment because traffic was bad. So traffic's always bad, right? And that's not to say there's not sometimes extreme traffic things that happen, but most of the time traffic is bad, and you know that. And we have things now like Google Maps and Waze and all sorts of ways that you actually know exactly how long it's going to take you to get to an appointment. So if you're taking responsibility for your life, you're never late because traffic is bad. You're late because you did not allow enough time for the traffic that existed. It's a really big shift. The formula for life success around that is E plus R equals O. That is the event plus the response equals the outcome. And what really happens is if you blame the event, you give up your power, right? So I started my story by telling you that I started my business in 2007, and then the economy crashed shortly thereafter into the deepest recession we've ever had. And I really could have sat back at that point and said, oh my gosh, nobody could succeed in this business climate. You know, I can't believe this event happened that I could not have predicted. And woe is me, now I'm going to go out of business. That is not what I did. What I really did was take my power and use it to change my response to the event. So when things got tough, I worked harder. This is a math project, right? If 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 4 is what you're going for, that's great. But if you want 5 and you can't change the 2, you have to change your response to the 3. Or sometimes the event changes. So it used to be, you know, you were doing 2, the event was 2, you were doing 2, you were getting a 4, that was great. But suddenly something happened and now the event became a 1. So if you keep doing 2, you're not getting the same outcome. You would have to change your response. I've really actually been working hard personally myself lately to work on this idea that everything that happens, I made happen. And that's really challenging, right? Because there are ways people behave. There are things that happen that I go, well, I could possibly not have caused that to happen. And yet if I sit back and I say to myself, well, you know, what did I do that allowed that to happen? Or what did I do that created that to happen? Only then can I change the response. We don't actually live in a society that embraces this concept very well. We need to, as individuals, embrace this concept. If you don't like the results you're getting, you cannot change the environment. You can only change your response. And we're going to dig into this quite a bit deeper in this presentation. Part of taking responsibility is you have to give up all blaming. So these are things that people seem to blame on a regular basis. And if you spend any time talking to people or on Facebook, you will see these people being blamed all the time, right? You cannot blame the economy, Wall Street, prices, the president, Congress, traffic, weather, the computer, foreign countries, OPEC, television, the internet. None of that is responsible for where you are. Your response to these things is responsible for where you are. Sometimes this means you have to make really hard choices, but you can't blame people for you can't blame people for the responses that you choose to have. You also have to give up all complaining. Complaining doesn't do any good at all. You know, we're called action coach for a reason, because we're action oriented, not word oriented. And let me show you the difference between complaining and not. I'm sure you guys remember this very famous speech from Martin Luther King called "I Have a Complaint." Does that ring a bell? No, you might have heard of it like this: "I have a dream." Right? Which was more effective? Can you imagine Martin Luther King stepping out that day and saying, "I have a complaint," and then listing off a litany of what he saw was wrong with the world? There was certainly much for him to complain about. But he didn't. What he said was, I have a dream, and this is the dream that I envision. This is where I see us going. See, complaining doesn't do anything. Dreaming moves you forward. You need to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. When you complain about things, you are giving energy to the things you don't like. Focus on what you want to change, not what is occurring, and focus on how you might make change. No, stop complaining about the change that isn't happening. One of my favorite sayings lately with my clients is, be the change you want to see. You also have to give up excuse making. I love this little cartoon. Bummer of a birthmark, how? Now, you see, he could complain about it, he could make excuses about it, but he has that birthmark, right? So what he's going to figure out is how not to get hunted down by the hunter. There's a story of this girl, Maddie Christensen, at 11 years old, who has severe deformities and has really achieved some amazing things in her life. And when people said, how do you overcome your obstacles? Her answer was, they're not obstacles, they are problems to be solved. You have to give up your excuses and you have to become solution oriented. Complaining and blaming about what others have done before you solves nothing. Identify the problems or the events, change your response to them, and watch what happens. There's only 3 responses that you have any control over in this equation. You can only control your behavior, your thoughts, and your imagery, which is kind of the pictures you put in your head. And you really do actually need to control all 3 of these. And I think we're taught in this country pretty well from a young age how to control behavior. We're not really focused so much on how to control thoughts. And so we're going to spend a little bit deeper time talking about that today. You have to harness the power of your thoughts. I didn't mention at the beginning, but I'm also working on a certification with a woman called Judith Glazier in something called conversational intelligence. And what they have discovered is our thoughts and our words have a biochemical, physical effect on everybody that's within about 10 feet of us at any given time. Your thoughts are affecting not only yourself, but other people. When you go into a room of negativity, it affects everybody's ability to act in a productive way. I had a really good story pop into my head on this. We were having lunch recently at a little restaurant down the street, and they had new owners, and we asked him how it was going, and he started complaining about how bad business was. And this is like an infamous place in the area that people have always gone to. And I said, well, you know, what happened to business? And then he started in front of his staff talking about how bad the staff was. And I thought to myself, how do you expect them to act better if this is the message that you're sending to them? And he really couldn't get it. What's interesting is it's right down the street from my house, and I've noticed that I get way better service when the owner is not there. Wow. Which is actually the opposite of what normally happens, right? But because he gives such negative thoughts to his staff, they cannot perform when he's not there, when he's there. And when he's not, they step up. This is a really interesting little experiment I just read about. They did an experiment in mini golf, and they told people they were measuring sports intelligence. And then they did the same test and told people they were measuring natural athletic ability. People scored much higher when they thought it was measuring their sports intelligence versus their natural athletic ability. And that is because these people thought they were smart, but not athletes.
Wow.
Right. It's the same test. And just being told that it was measuring intelligence, they perform better than athletic ability. So I ask you this, what have people told you that has affected your ability to be successful? You need to push that out of your head and replace it with better thoughts. Because we've all had some evil person put bad thoughts in our head. There's a power of force that's created by intention of thought. And it has to do with the amount of people that are holding the thought at the same time, right? And it's basically, you know, multiplication. So one person holding a thought doesn't change much, but 10 people in a room holding the same thought changes everything. Or 1,000 people together holding the same thought changes the world. I was lucky enough, because I live here in Washington, D.C., to be at the March for Our Lives this spring. And one of the speakers, you know, one of those high school students from Parkland who had been shot at in her high school, was now coming out onto this stage to speak live in front of, I don't even know how many people were in DC. All you could see was people, and she was on television. And I was pretty close. I noticed when she walked out at the time that she had lost her nerves. You could see it. She was a mess walking onto the stage. And really all of us there were sending her power, this young girl, to try to make it through, because we saw how she was. And we intentionally, at least everybody around me, were sending her thoughts of love and and power so she could get through this speech, because I mean a lot of adults couldn't do it, and she was clearly the problem. The interesting thing is this young woman midway through threw up on stage, because that's how nervous she was. She completely lost it, and she turned around and she threw up, and then she stood back up and she said, I cannot believe I just threw up in front of 1 million people, and I also can't believe how good it felt. And then she continued with her speech, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I'd have thrown up on that stage, I'm pretty sure I would have walked off, right? But I know that that was the power of the 100,000 or 1 million people that were there saying to her, you can do it. And I watched this amazing thing where this girl got up and gave the speech of her life after such an embarrassing thing happened to her. Your thoughts matter, not only to yourself, but to the people around you. So as you're trying to be more successful, you need to think about how your thoughts are affecting the people you need to help you in this success. So now I want everybody to find a partner, just somebody close to you, and just sit and face each other. So everybody sort of pair off and face each other. Okay, while you guys are facing each other, just decide who's going to go first. Let's make it the person with the shortest hair goes first. We'll just make it something simple. And I want you to think about something that you're really having trouble doing. Like, I can't seem to cross the $1 million barrier in business. I can't get anybody to hire me. Whatever it is that you think you're having problems with, I just want you to put those thoughts in your head. Okay, everybody got some thoughts, and you're facing your partner. So now I want you to express this to your partner. We're going to take like 30 seconds. And I just want you to say whatever it is you can't do. And I want you to use the words can't. Okay, so I'm going to give you maybe like 20 seconds and start now. So just say to your partner, I can't, I can't, I can't, and repeat your statements. All right, everybody stop. All right, and now I just want you to switch partners. So 15 seconds, I want partner B to, I can't sign my first client, I can't land this contract, whatever it is. So partner B, go. Okay, stop. Did everybody get a few sentences out? All right, now I want partner A to go again, and I want you to say the same statements, but instead of I can't, I want you to say I won't. So if you were saying I can't sign that first big contract, I want you to say I won't sign that first big contract, or I choose not to sign that first big contract. Okay, so partner A, just go and repeat your statements, but change I can't to either I won't or I choose not to. Okay, let's stop and switch back. So partner B, do the same thing. Change your I can't statements to I won't statements and say them to your partner. Go ahead and go.
use not to.
Internet. Yeah.
Okay, everybody stop and turn back to the front of the room. How did it feel when you said, I won't instead of I can't? The first time I ever did this exercise, it actually caused me physical pain to say I won't to some of the statements I made, because I think one of my statements was, my 25-year-old son is mentally ill.
Angie, it's going in and out, so can you repeat that last
I noticed it was reduced. I said, the first time I did this exercise, I actually felt physical pain when I had to say I won't. I think my can't statement had something to do with my son. I have a 25-year-old son who's mentally ill, and he's trying to figure out how to get his life together, and it was causing me a lot of pain. And I think my original statement had been something like, I can't help my son. And when I changed that statement to I won't help my son, that was physically painful, right? And it was a reminder of maybe I should be looking for a way to help my child. And so the reason that I have you put this out there is we tell ourselves I can't a lot of times when the real answer is I won't, right? I'm not willing to do what it would take to make that happen. And that really is a big perspective shift when you sort of relanguage things like that. You know, what is the difference between I can't and I won't?
She gotta get this on, because we gotta reverse them I can't.
That's right.
ASAP.
You heard that? I may have to turn off the webcam here so that you can continue to talk, but you won't be able to see the crowd.
Okay, I can deal with that if you have to.
Okay.
You just got to tell me when, they need me to repeat or something like that.
Yeah, it's getting good now, so everybody is all in.
All right, so I want you to think about, thank your partner. We're all back of the room. If you want to be successful, you have to stop using the word I can't. Can't is a bad word. That should be in the list of 4-letter words that we don't use. Because here's the truth. You can do anything. Anything that has been done by one person can be learned to be done by anyone. So unless it's never been done, we know for sure it can be done. So stop saying I can't. I can't shut you down every time you're trying to find a way to be successful. This is the most dangerous word in the English language, I think, at this point. Henry Ford said it best, I think. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Whatever you decide you cannot do, you cannot do. And whatever you decide you can do, you can. I have had a long-held belief as a small child that I could do absolutely anything in the world if you gave me an instruction manual. I'm certain that I could put a car together if you gave me the manual on how to do it. I am not mechanical. I have no idea how you put a car together. Since YouTube has come onto the scene, I now know that I certainly can do anything in the world with the instruction manual, because I have learned how to do things on YouTube that just blew my mind. My favorite story about this is I was dating my now husband at the time, and he was going out of town for the weekend, and my dryer had broken. And I said to him, hey, if I can't fix my dryer, is it okay if I come over to your house while you're out of town and do my laundry? He said, yeah, sure. And so Monday he gets back in town. He says, it doesn't look like you came over to my house. And I said, I didn't. I fixed my dryer. He said, what are you talking about? What was wrong with your dryer? I said, the drum belt needed to be replaced. He said, how did you replace that? I said, I watched a YouTube video. It wasn't that hard, right? Once they showed me how to take the top off the dryer, the rest was easy. He still tells that story because he's amazed that I fixed the dryer. You can do anything, and you need to know that.
I like that.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. The power of our brains is something that none of us fully understands, and we are affecting not only ourselves, but everybody around us. This is all part of 100% responsibility, is understanding your own power to influence events. Whatever you can conceive and achieve, conceive and believe, you can achieve. And then, of course, Walt Disney, if you can dream it, you can do it. You know, remember Walt Disney was a cartoonist. That is really what he did in the beginning. And he's built, you know, this amazing empire ever since. Part of taking responsibility is also goal setting. So I don't know if you've heard this term. I forget who first coined it. It's kind of a modern term, the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Set a goal that's big enough so that in the process of achieving, you'll become someone worth becoming. A goal that is so big that it scares you a little bit or a lot, but you still shoot it. And I will share for you, my 2016 BHAG goal was to double the highest annual revenue I'd ever achieved. So I was noticing this little trend where I would sort of hit a level of revenue in my business and I would sort of stay there leveled off until I got tired of it. And then I would choose the next level and I would go up. It's really funny, as I started my business, and for the first 4 years, I did about the same amount of revenue, which wasn't much. And then I was, you know, not able to figure out how I was going to send my kid to college if I didn't make any money. So I got it in gear and doubled my revenue to really a nice place. And then around 2016, I said, boy, I've been sitting at this same revenue for 4 years. What if I doubled my revenue? What if I set a revenue goal that's higher, that's twice the most amount of money I've ever made in my entire life? I'm just going to set that goal and make it happen. And it scared the heck out of me. And I started telling people what my goal was, which was really scary because I didn't think I could achieve it because it was twice as much money as I'd ever made in my entire life. And here's what happened in 2016. I did not quite double my sales, but I did increase my sales by 78%.
Whoa.
So how many of you guys would be unhappy if you increased your sales by 78%?
I don't think so.
Here's the other thing that I learned how to do in that year. I learned how to do that amount of business. So it's a really funny thing because once you learn how to get the business, you can't unlearn how to get the business. You can stop doing the things that worked, right? But you do know how to do it. One of my favorite questions that I ask prospects, usually people that say had a business and they've lost a lot of volume. So maybe they, you know, built their business up and now they've lost volume, or they built it up and now they're stuck. And they'll say, I don't know how to get any new customers. I can't figure out how to find new clients or new contracts or, you know, whoever it is they do business with. And here's the question I always ask them. In the beginning, when you had no customers, what did you do to get customers? And whatever they tell me is the answer to how to get customers, right? Because they know how to do it. They're just not wanting to do it, or they've forgotten and they just need me to remind them. So, you know, what is a big, hairy, audacious goal for you guys? When you set one, you might be surprised at what actually happens. And I want to push you to set it high because it doesn't take any more effort to dream a big dream than it does to dream a small dream. You know, I think about Mother Teresa, who fed, you know, millions and millions and millions of people through her amazing ability to raise funds and touch the people. And you think about all of the people who are doing good work, feeding, you know, a family in their neighborhood or feeding their church community. You know, it's the same amount of effort to do that as it was for her to feed the people of India. So set your dream a little bigger because it doesn't really take much more effort. And I want you guys each now to create and think about it. I'm going to put you on the spot in a minute to think of one, and you'll need to go back and rethink it. But create a breakthrough goal for yourself. You know, it's a goal that would quantum leap your professional success, right? And it will require you to grow to achieve it. So set a breakthrough goal that you're not sure how you're going to achieve, that you maybe don't have all the knowledge you need. But what would it take? What is one thing that if you achieved it would turn your business in a new direction? A goal is something that you want, which is measurable in time and space, how much by when. So a good breakthrough goal is not, I want to do more business. A good breakthrough goal is, I want to do $1 million by the year 2020. It's measurable in time and space. How much by when? You have to put deadlines on this because our subconscious and the universe act in funny ways, and without deadlines, nothing happens. So here's some sort of breakthrough goals that are, you know, are kind of good goals for people. You could write a book. You could open up a new market. You could learn a foreign language. You could get an advanced degree. You could double your sales or double your profits. You could set your sights on, you know, the XYZ company, a big giant company as a client, and try to get them. When I first started doing some executive coaching, because I was working only with small business owners, and now I do both big business and small business. But when I first thought I wanted to get into executive coaching, I had this crazy idea that maybe Marriott is where I should start because they're locally headquartered here. And everybody was like, Marriott, are you crazy? Like, just go for a small company. And I said, I don't know how to get into the small companies, but I know how to get into Marriott. And I asked every single person I knew who has a connection into Marriott. And it took me about 10 days to get an appointment with the head of talent development at Marriott. Exactly the person I needed to get in to executive coaching. That was my breakthrough goal. I don't want to, start with a small company. Let me start with the big, and let me figure out how to get in there. So these just give you guys some thoughts about breakthrough goals. Let me give you the difference between an intention and a goal or objective. An intention is we'd like to grow or double our membership. We'd like to get some new contracts. That's an intention. A goal or objective is we will increase our membership to this number by this date and time. Intentions are sort of dreams without plans. Goals are things that you're going to actually make happen. So now I want you to kind of go back to your partners again, and I'm going to give you each, or we'll just give you like a total of a minute in your little 2-person groups to come up with a quick breakthrough goal and state it to the other person. The only person you need to tell right now this breakthrough goal to is the person you partnered up with in the last exercise. Okay, so everybody sort of get back with your partner, and I'm going to start the timer to give you 1 minute to state your breakthrough goal, the first one that pops into your head, to your partner. So go. Okay, did everybody sort of get at least the gist of a breakthrough goal? What? I'm going to come back to this in a minute, but one of the things when you set your breakthrough goal is to share it with other people because they'll help you achieve it. So one of my current breakthrough goals, and it's a goal that I share with my husband, is that we're trying to move to a remote part of Mexico.
Okay, all right.
I see it. Are we back? Okay.
I stay in the right spot.
I see. I thought we just moved around.
Don't move. So a breakthrough goal that my husband and I set back in 2012. Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
We're ready now.
Okay.
Are we class? Are we class?
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody's ready, right?
Yeah, we're ready now.
A breakthrough goal that I set with my husband back in June 2012 was for us to move to Baja, Mexico, which is crazy. It was just a breakthrough goal. And as we've sort of developed it over time, one of the ways that we make this happen is that we make the move, but we continue to generate revenue in Mexico. And we've sort of developed this idea of building a compound and doing success coaching where executives would come in to Mexico, to our compound, and go through weekend courses of planning and training and things like that. And then to give back, we would also at that compound hold courses free of charge for local young people who are trying to get ahead. So that's kind of the breakthrough goal that we set for ourselves. And so we just bought the land to build on. So that we accomplished just last month. So that was exciting. And we have enough money to buy the land and enough money to build our house and the small training center. We don't have enough money to develop out all the land. In Mexico, there's no mortgages. By the way, everything is cash. So there's a lot of money. And we started thinking, I wonder if people would share this goal with us. And we think, part of our compound is there's little casitas where the people that are doing the classes, stay when they're coming for us. And I said, I wonder if we could sell these casitas. So we came up with this idea that once we get this all together, we'll do a little presentation and we'll see if any of the people we know want to invest in these casitas. So basically they can pay for the construction of it and then they can use it for vacation and they can rent it out, or we'll rent it from them when we hold these courses. And just a little idea that we created. And we started floating it out to a few people we thought might be interested. What?
So the antenna.
Am I here? Okay.
Okay.
So am I back?
No, you're back now.
All right. We started floating this idea out to just a handful of people like, hey, would you be interested in considering investing in one of these casitas to help us hit our goal? And we're just trying to see who's maybe interested. We'll put together a presentation. We're not ready to do it yet. Well, since we started asking people if they might be interested, we've actually had people we haven't even talked to come up to us and say, hey, when you do that presentation, we want to be invited. We are interested. We've actually come to realize we're not going to have any problem finding people to invest in our project in order to create this future happen.
The webcam and see if that'll work.
Is it better now?
You're not back yet.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now you're back.
Okay, so we're not going to have any problem finding people to help us achieve that breakthrough goal. We've realized because we started asking people for our help. So I'm gonna come back to ask, but I wanted to tie that story in with the breakthrough goal. Let me get here. So the next success principle I want to talk about is the rule of 5, which is on your breakthrough goal, do 5 things every day that will lead to the achievement of your breakthrough goal. 5 things. That might be 5 phone calls. That might be 5 emails. That might be 5 steps. That might be, 5 of anything. Starting off your business as a business coach is not actually that easy because you don't have a track record in the beginning and nobody really knows how you're going to help them. And so the only way to overcome that is volume of conversation. And frequently I have conversations with people that have, tried to get started as a business coach and they're having a hard time getting started. And I say to them, I'm going to tell you how to be successful. It's really that simple. I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call 5 random business owners every day and introduce yourself to them, see if there's any interest and move forward. And I've told them, I said, this works 100% of the time. Here's the key. You have to call 5 business owners every single day. The people that do it, they get their business going. The people that find it too hard, they never do. And they come back to me a year later and they go, I'm still struggling. And I say, did you call 5 people every day for a year? And it doesn't even take a year. In a month, if you called 5 people every day, you'd have significant change in your business. 5 things every day. So when you look at what your breakthrough goal is, what are 5 things you can do every day? And when you look at the 5 things, it can be different action steps, right? So it could be, there's, I need to, we'll talk about finding land in Mexico, right? We need to go to Mexico. We need to pick a town. We need to, research what it takes to emigrate to Mexico. I mean, there was a lot of steps in our Mexican dream. So sometimes those 5 things where, I had to email a realtor and a title guy and, look up an article on the rules of immigration, that kind of thing. When I'm trying to build my business, the 5 things I do every day are just call 5 business owners every day. So it might be repeated actions. It might be pick up the phone every day, or it might be a list of steps, in which case you're just going to tackle 5 of them every day. But whatever it is, pick your top 5 things. A lot of new planning tools have come out that are supposed to really help productivity. And you'll notice that like the Panda Planner and others, every one of them has a version of this, which is pick the 5 things you need to do today to make your day successful. And that's what this rule of 5 is. It's not a to-do list. It's not 5 things I hope I get done. It is the 5 things I'm going to do today and tomorrow and the next day that are going to move me toward my goal. I think this step gets missed a lot in the setting of goals, is these little teeny, and these are micro actions, right? 5 phone calls doesn't take me a half an hour. It's not that I spend my whole day doing it, but you need to be moving forward every single day toward your goal. There's a Japanese concept. Yep.
Oh, you froze.
Did you lose me?
You're frozen.
I'm okay on my end, so I think it's on your end.
Yep, you're moving now. You're fine.
I'm at, okay. All right, good. Okay, so 5 things every single day. So when you settle on your breakthrough goal, it may be the one I made you state, but I kind of sprung that on you. So if you think about it, you might come up with a better one. I want you to think about every day, what are 5 things I'm going to do today toward that goal? And again, they can be micro steps. They don't need to be giant leaps, but 5 little action steps every single day. Remember, there's only 3 responses that you have control over: behavior, which we all know that is how I react; thoughts, which we've just spent a lot of time talking about; and then imagery. You need to use the power of visualization. And I will tell you this: you see yourself, you are exactly how you see yourself. You know, and sometimes we knock ourselves down. Sometimes I remind myself, you know, pinch myself when I'm sitting on the beach in some amazing place, you know, on the other side of the world. I remind myself that I'm just a poor girl from Wheaton. And that's just to get some gratitude up. But if I spend too much time picturing what I used to be, I will become that again. So, you know, give that, how much time do you spend thinking about what you don't want to be? Because that is what you're making yourself come. So they did an experiment on this concept, and it had to do with improving the rate of foul shots, right? And so here's the controlled experiment they did. They had a control group that did not practice taking foul shots for 30 days. I'm assuming everybody knows what a foul shot is, you know, free throw from the line. So one group did not practice foul shots in any way for a month. So we measured how good they were. They did nothing. They got measured again a month later. The second group practiced foul shots on a basketball court every day for 30 days, right? So every single day, 30 days, they went out, they practiced shooting, and then they got measured again. And the third group practiced foul shots only in their mind for 30 days. They didn't pick up the basketball. They didn't set out on the court. They just, in their mind, pictured themselves shooting foul shots. I'm going to move my camera for a second. Here are the results of that study. Those who didn't practice foul shots for 30 days had no improvement. Big surprise, right? They didn't do anything, nothing changed. The people that practiced foul shots on a basketball court every day for 30 days had a 24% improvement in their free throw percentage. Not too shabby. The people who practiced foul shots only in their mind for 30 days had a 23% improvement in their free throw completion percentage. Almost the same result of the people who physically practiced. This is what you have. This is the thoughts and the images in your mind that you must take control over. If you go out into the business world every day and, you know, work your hardest to build your business and then go home and think about what a failure you are, you make yourself a failure. But if you actually spend some time every day thinking about yourself as a success and practicing what it takes to be a success, you will get the results. And here's the reason. The subconscious, I don't know if you're aware of this, but your brain cannot actually tell the difference between something that you vividly imagine and something that actually happens. This is why eyewitness accounts vary from each other, because everything is a perception. When you plant a vision in your brain and the reality does not match, it creates structural tension in your brain. So if you tell yourself, you know, hey, I'm a, you know, successful person, and every day you're trying to figure out how to get enough money to eat, you're creating structural tension internally. And what that does is creates a shift in perception inside of you. And it helps you to expand your creativity and your motivation. And it makes your brain find ways to make this happen. Our brains have this amazing way of gathering all the information we ask it to look for. The problem is we're telling it the wrong thing by thinking negative thoughts about our success instead of positive, or imagining ourselves not succeeding instead of imagining ourselves succeeding. What you focus on is what happens. It's really important. So I'm going to talk for a moment about focus, and we're going to watch this video. So what's going to happen is you're going to see, you can kind of see from here, you're going to see basically 2 teams of people, one in black shirts and one in white shirts, and they're passing the basketball to each other. And what I want you guys to do is to count how many times the people in the white shirts pass the ball to each other. You got that? We're going to count how many times the people in the white shirts pass the ball to each other. Okay, does a bounce pass count? Yes. Does a chest pass count? Yes. Any sort of pass. So we're just going to count pass to pass white team to white team, right? So we're counting how many times the people in the white shirts pass the basketball. So everybody get ready to pay attention, and I am going to start this video, and you guys just count how many times the passing happens for the white team. Oops, hold on, I got to make that. All right, how many guys did you, how many passes did you guys count? Does everybody, you just call out some numbers.
I counted 11. Yeah, I counted 11, 12. I missed a couple.
Yeah, the back was,
Yeah.
see when their back was turned.
And the technology was moving slow, so I think we missed a few. Yeah.
All right, so let me throw something out. So the correct answer is there were 15 passes, but what I want to ask is how many of you guys saw the gorilla?
No.
And if you're wondering what gorilla I'm talking about, it's gonna come up in a minute. So now I'm gonna ask you this question. Did you see the gorilla?
Oh,
Watch the video.
Wow. No, because we were focused on the white team, like you said.
How amazing is that?
Even focused on the white team.
Did you see it? Did you see it? I didn't see it.
The funny thing is, if you ever see that video again, you cannot not see the gorilla because you know it's there. The first time I saw that video, I didn't see that gorilla at all. And now, even if I try to not see him, I can't. But my question is, what are the opportunities, solutions, resources, people, money, members? What are you not seeing? But because you are so focused on what has been your story, instead of focusing on what you want your story to be. Because this is what we do. We are missing opportunities because we're not looking for them, because we're focused somewhere else. And if you think about this video, you can think about the white team as representing sort of your negative thoughts, your limiting beliefs, your current reality. The white team is representing what you're focusing on and what I told you to focus on, right? And the black team and the gorilla are kind of, they represent your goals, your ideal future, and your positive thoughts about it. It's what you're not thinking about. So you're putting your focus in the wrong place. And this is one of the success principles. All highly successful people, they don't really worry about where they are. They focus on where they're going. And that's when you find the opportunities to help you. You know, when my husband and I started this dream of retiring to Mexico a few years back, you know, that was just some crazy dream that we have that we just couldn't let go of. But along the way, because we're open to that dream, it's unbelievable. I kid you not, we are moving to the west coast of Mexico to a small town of 6,000 total residents in the middle of nowhere. And I am not kidding you, met 3 local people who are building houses within 10 miles of where I'm building mine. Like, how does that happen? I've never even met anybody else that ever came up with such a crazy dream. But once I started focusing on it, I started meeting other people with the same dream. Other resources came to me. People will send me information because they know that's my dream. So this is about shifting your focus to what you want, not what you have. And then controlling your behavior in such a way as to make it work as well. So from a behavior perspective, what's the one thing that separates the winners from the losers in life? Because there's really only one thing. Winners take action. Winners get out there and do things. They don't sit in the chair and complain about how things aren't what they want, and they don't sit around wondering why things aren't working for them. Winners get out there and make things happen. And one of the things that can sometimes happen when people, you know, do this work of taking responsibility and writing goals is they sort of miss this action step, which is the most important thing. Nothing happens without action. And the next thing is it's okay to ask for help. And in fact, you need to ask for help. I don't know about you guys, but I am terrible at asking for help. I grew up in a family where self-reliance was glorified and it was weak to ask for help. And the truth is, if you want to be highly successful, you can't do it by yourself. You need a team of people around you. And so you have to, as a successful person, learn to ask for help, because that is sometimes what stops you from taking action, is this fear. What stops you from asking people to join you and help you? It's your comfort zone. It's because asking these questions would make you uncomfortable. So I'm going to do a little thing on comfort zone. So why do we avoid changing? So everybody fold your hands like this, right? It feels pretty normal, right? Now, some of you have the left thumb on top and some of you have the right thumb on top. What I want you to do now is to switch them. So just take your fingers, one back. So basically, if you're like this and you take your hands, you're going to shift one finger back. So if your left thumb was on top, now your right thumb is. If your right thumb was on top originally, now your left thumb is. Doesn't that feel very strange? Aren't you dying to put it back? Right? Don't you just really want to put it back where it was? But here's the truth, right? Most people would rather just be comfortable than do what's necessary, and it's the same thing. There's no difference if I fold my hands this way or if I fold them this way. But boy, is it uncomfortable for me to have them folded this way. But if I kept it this way, it would become comfortable. I did a keynote a long time ago called Everything You Want is Outside of Your Comfort Zone, Tiger Bites and Other True Stories from the front line, which is about me getting bitten by a tiger in Mexico, which is a story for another day. But you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because if you want something beyond what you have, you're not going to be comfortable there because you don't have it yet. And so you've got to be okay with being uncomfortable and doing things that scare you and doing things that maybe you're very uncomfortable with. I took a course one time on marketing coaching, and they had this idea for an email campaign that you should ride. And it was nothing like what I would have written. It was very salesy, very hard, just not my personality at all. But the guy who wrote the course basically guaranteed it would work. And so I sent out my first email. I was very uncomfortable. I did not like the tone of the email. It wasn't something I would write, but I sent it out anyway. Single biggest response I've ever had to an email campaign. I had no less than 25 people meet with me. So I just had to be a little bit uncomfortable. Everything that you want that you don't have is waiting for you. It's just outside of your comfort zone. One of my favorite quotes is not on here, but it is, winners make a habit out of doing things that losers find uncomfortable. This is action oriented. You've got to learn to do things that are very uncomfortable to you. It is how you grow and leap to the next level. The other thing that stops us, and it's related, is fear. And if you think about fear, our fantasized experiences appearing real. Fear is just a self-created image of a bad thing that hasn't happened yet. Fear is all in your head. Fear does not really exist. You've just created an idea that something terrible is going to happen, and then you believe it is, and that's what fear is. But believe me, that is a game that you make up in your head. So success principle 15 is feel the fear and do it anyway. As an aside, if any of you guys have real struggle with fear holding you back, there is a great book, and I can't see the author's name from here, but it is called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I suggest you read it. I read that book years ago, and it really helped me. But you are going to be afraid when you're doing things that you've never done before. And you're going to be afraid when you take steps you've never taken. You're going to be afraid when you pick up the phone to call, that executive whose contract you want. You can't let the fear stop you. Right? Fear is just a little warning sign. Just heed the warning, but move on. And there's a little mantra you can say to yourself when you're really afraid. It goes something like this. Oh, what the heck? Go for it anyway. Right? Now, if you chant it, it's more effective. So let's try to chant it together on 3. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, what the heck? Go for it anyway. Sounds silly, but it works, right? The next thing you have to do is reject rejection, because I'm not going to tell you that you're not going to get rejected. When you take these big, fearful, uncomfortable steps and leap out into the world of trying to find new levels of success, people are going to reject you. Let's just accept that. But I need you to reject rejection. So Chicken Soup for the Soul, written by Jack Canfield, is now the best-selling book of all time. I believe he has sold more copies than the Bible. He was rejected by the first 144 publishers they pitched the book to. Yet he did not give up, right? And publisher 145 took a chance, and they created the best-selling book of all time. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job. Steven Spielberg applied to and was rejected twice by the USC Film School. What do you say when people say no? And the answer is you say the same thing those people said, which is next. So when I say no, I want you guys to say next. So let's practice this. I'm going to say no, you say next. All right, you ready? No.
Next.
No.
Next.
No.
Next.
No.
Next.
Yes.
All right.
Sooner or later, if you ask enough, and if you just say next, and you get enough no's, you'll get the yes. I have seen multiple versions of this. I was actually watching Joel Osteen one morning do his one Sunday morning do his preaching from the pulpit from his church in Texas, and he had a version of this, which was when somebody tells you no, God says overruled, right? So you can say next, reject, cancel, overruled, doesn't matter. But when somebody says no to you, you just move on to the next one. I like this. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Some people will say yes to your request. Some people will say no. Who cares? As long as there's someone waiting to say yes, that's all that matters. I like this little cartoon. I call that rejection. You see the organ is jumping out of his body. That's a lot more painful than somebody just saying no to you. The next success principle is to ask for and respond to feedback. You need to ask for feedback. That's very, very scary. And you need to swallow it when people give it to you. The simple best question you can ask when you're looking for feedback is this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quality of your experience, our relationship, our product, our service during this past week, month, quarter, year, whatever it is? That's the first question on a scale of 1 to 10. And then the second question is, well, what would it take to make it a 10? And if you ask the question that way, people will actually give you an answer that helps. Now, it's funny because this is a question that sometimes business owners are afraid to ask of their clients. And I actually think that's a pretty easy survey question for a customer. But what I challenge you is ask this question of your spouse or your child or your business partner or your best friend. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quality of our relationship? And what would I have to do to make it a 10? That's a really scary question. I will tell you that I have not actually built up the courage to ask that question of my spouse right now, although he does tell me that he's the woman I waited for. He waited for his entire life, so I'm hoping I'll go for 10, but we'll see. But you should be asking this for sure of the people that work for you, the people you work with, the customers that you do business with. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quality of our experience? And what would I have to do to make it a 10? The answers are all there if you just ask for them. There are so many businesses that I don't do business with because of stupid small things they did that annoyed me. That honestly, if they just asked me about it, they could totally fix. Now I'm a business coach, so sometimes I just offer that feedback unsolicited. And I don't always know if it's even taken or not, because I will send an email to a business owner that's one I sent recently that said, I was kind of excited to try a slice of pizza at your place, but I walked in and your foyer was so dirty, it made me uncomfortable. They don't even notice that their foyer was dirty because you don't notice, right? Now, I don't know, and I've actually been meaning to go back and see if they cleaned it up, you know. But if somebody told you something like that, you could be offended by it. You could be like, how dare this customer tell me my foyer was dirty, right? Or you could go out and you could look at your foyer and say, oh my gosh, my foyer is dirty. How many customers am I turning away, and clean it up? And that's the value of asking for feedback. You can't correct what you don't know needs correcting. It's the law of probabilities. The more things you try, the more things you will find, the more likely you'll find something that works. You know, what's the Thomas Edison? How many versions of the light bulb? 1,000, 10,000 before it actually worked? You have to keep trying. You have to keep asking. You have to keep moving forward. The more people you ask, the more likely you will find that someone says yes. So no matter how many cold calls you've made, no matter how many letters you sent out, no matter how many doors you knocked on, if you just keep asking, sooner or later, you're going to find someone that says yes. So these principles that I just outlined are sort of the core of the success principles. I highly recommend Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles. I'm going to start a course, and Pamela will have you send info out that at the end of the summer, I'm going to do a 12-week video course really in deep on the success principles so that you can learn them in a deeper way. But I want to just kind of recap for you. The single biggest change that you can make between your level of success today and the level of success you want to be in the future is to take 100% responsibility for that success. Whatever blames, complaints, excuses are in your head, just push them out of there today. Set a breakthrough goal that's going to make that success happen, and then do whatever you have to do to make it happen. Ask, right? Share your goal. Take action every day. Every single person that's reached high levels of success on their own has followed this vision and these success principles. And I will tell you something, I've seen this on the world stage. They can be used for good or evil, right? So, sometimes you can look at highly successful people who you think are kind of jerks, but they're actually using these same laws that I'm teaching you today. It is all about you are in control of everything that happens to you because you control your response to it. You control the way you think about it. You control the images that put in your head. There are forces that are working against you for sure. You need to keep them out of your head because once you let them in there, they will bring you down. So I hope that I gave you guys kind of a different viewpoint today of how to be successful in business. A lot of times I do real tactical things, but until you get your head in the right place and get yourself out there dedicated to reaching huge levels of success, whatever that means for you, you can't take the actions. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to give you my contact info here. You are welcome to call or email me anytime. I am truly dedicated to helping people grow their businesses, and I will answer or respond to any question you throw my way. If you are interested in getting in my email list so that you get, I do a weekly business tip, and I do events like this success coaching we're going to do, just shoot me an email, tell me to add you to my list, and you will get into the list. And with that, I think we have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has any questions, I am here to answer them.
Any questions?
No, but thank you. That was incredible.
That was good.
Reconfirming the messages.
Oh, wait, there's some questions. Okay.
Go ahead.
I was reading an entrepreneurial magazine, and it said one of the traits of successful people is being comfortable with uncertainty. Any thoughts or comments about how to get comfortable with uncertainty?
Could you hear him?
I did. I got it. It's practice. And I'll tell you this, I'm very comfortable with uncertainty, and I'm very comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I've actually given a lot of thought as to why that is. And I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. And so I have never been comfortable in my entire life. I have always had to wade through waters with no one to guide me from a small child, from the age of a small child onward. And I know that at some point I just got used to being uncomfortable. I got used to taking risks. I got used to uncertainty because for most of my life, nothing was certain. It's funny because now I feel like I have more certainty because I'm in control. But if you just force yourself to be uncomfortable or to take risks or to get used to insecure or, to get used to lack of security, you'll get used to it. I can give you a real life example of that. My husband is afraid of heights. And we were in Africa, and I wanted to jump off of the world's tallest and fastest zip line. And I told him ahead of time, I said, I'm going to reserve this for us. I said, do you want to come with me, or do you just want to watch? Because I knew he was afraid of heights. No part of me thought he was going to jump off the side of that mountain with me. And I don't know what went through his head, but he said, oh, yeah, sign me up. So we go to the top of this mountain that we were going to attach to a small wire in the middle of Africa, jump off of, and fly over 60 miles an hour for more than a mile off the side of this mountain. My husband's terrified, but I'm just like, I'm here to have fun. You're terrified. It'll be cool. I will tell you, he's no longer afraid of heights, and he just, once he did it, he was like, it wasn't as uncomfortable as I thought. So to get uncomfortable with certainty to me is to recognize nothing is certain and just kind of get used to being there. It's like anything, it's practice.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I appreciate it.
Any more questions?
Any other questions?
So actually, I do have a question. in your coaching practice, what are the sort of three things that you see most often as encumbrances to success? It doesn't have to be three. What are most common?
People get tired, so I'll tell you that. I think that small people go into business and they're very excited in the beginning, and business is hard work, and they get a little burnt out. I see that in businesses of all ages. So they get a little tired, honestly, and they stop working as hard. So part of it is to re-energize yourself and to remind yourself why you're in business in the first place. The other thing that I see getting in the way of people putting their own insecurities on others. So like, if I don't believe I can get that contract, I'm probably not going to get it. Even if because I don't do as good a presentation, or I don't pitch it as well. So pretty regularly, I find business owners put things in their own insecurities. They project out onto the people they're trying to do business with. And that gets in the way. They're using their thoughts to influence in a negative way, if that makes sense. I don't know if you ever had the experience where you just knew you were going to win a sale, and you walked into the room knowing you were going to win the sale, and you for sure won that sale. The opposite's true. People go in thinking they're going to lose the sale, and then they're surprised when they lose the sale. So you need to be confident that in what you're doing all the time. And the third thing is, business owners don't ask for enough help. They think they're supposed to know everything, and so then they get embarrassed at the things that they don't know when there's no reason to. An example of that, a lot of my clients don't really understand accounting. They're not accountants, and when they talk to their accountants, they don't understand what he's saying. And I've had 2 clients now that have asked me if I would sit in their appointment with their accountant so that I could then interpret for them, afterwards. And I'm happy to do it, and I've done it every time. But I'm like, listen, if you don't understand what the accountant is saying, ask for clarification. Tell him, I don't understand that term. And every time I get the same answer is, I don't want to look stupid. And I'm like, you're not an accountant. I mean, why would you understand accounting language? So ask for the help that you need, and ask questions when you don't understand something. The only stupid question is the question that isn't asked. And business owners don't ask enough questions, if you ask me. Is that helpful?
Absolutely.
Very helpful. Very helpful. Angie, I think we need to bring you back one more time before the year is over.
That's right.
All right, we'll make that happen.
Time you do a presentation for us. I mean, even this one to me was, I tell you, it was right on point, from the fact that yesterday I just went and got the Think and Grow Rich book, but I already had the Napoleon Hill, and I got Dennis Kimbrough this time. And but yeah, phenomenal presentation. So thank you, Angie. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, and so Angie is with Action Coach. Action Coach is one of our alliance partners. This Friday, Rick Plaskett, which is also a partner of Angie Dabrowski, they'll be here teaching more principles that Action Coach believes in. And so if you're interested in signing up for that course, go to the website. You can see me afterwards. We can get you all registered for that event. And it's an all-day event here. Lunch is provided. And we appreciate Action Coach and all that you all do for us and with us. So thank you so much for that. Angie, you can still hold the line, because if you want to, just in case any others have questions. And I think, wait a minute, let me check online to make sure if there are any questions. Oh yeah, we got a few people here. Let's see. Any questions? Anyone online? No one asked any, but if you have any, go ahead and write them. I see we have some attendees online. Write your question in if you have any. And as you're writing, I'm going to make a few other announcements. Those who got here late, let me just let you all know that Myra will be the president starting July 1st, and she'll be taking over. And so things may change, may not. We'll find out. But I'm looking forward to our new leadership. One of those new things is that we're hosting a wonderful event again in August. Have you all seen the email about the heavy hitters and big spenders event? Okay, so she explained that earlier. I'll just tell you all again. August 22nd is the date for the heavy hitters and big spender event. We'll have the CDC, Georgia Department of Transportation, and City of Atlanta. Those three. They'll be here on a panel. And at this event, we'll have a pitch competition. So if you are interested in getting your business in front of these suppliers, you want to be in this competition. And there'll be 5 judges coming from Women in Defense, GSA, J.E. Dunn, and Aerotropolis Atlanta. Great people that we all have relationships with, and this is the perfect time for you to sign up and get in front of these people. Now, we've already sent notice out, and people have already started signing up. And if you're interested in being in this competition to pick your business, you need to sign up ASAP because they are signing up quickly. The grand prize winner will get a $20,000 scholarship to a program here at GCA. The other thing, let me announce that next month's agenda is already out, so we'll have the FAR regulation course, cyber defense course, and a cost proposal course. All of those you can find online. You can go ahead and register, and you can go ahead and register for the August classes too. Okay. And I don't see any questions out here from any of our participants. So let me use this time now to introduce to you all two of our sponsors. One is GPI Financials, Greg Palmer. He'll be speaking on services and options that you all may have. So first of all, thank you for breakfast. We appreciate you bringing that. And we have a few moments we'll allow you to come up and speak now about the offerings of GPI Financial. And then after you, we'll have Charles from Southstar speak about your services.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really quick, GPI Financial Services is an insurance and risk management firm. We specialize in working with small businesses. We are also certified as a notary business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise, and a veteran-owned business. One of the things that I heard asked was uncertainty. Now, there is one item that you don't want to be uncertain about, and that is your cash flow. Negative cash flow puts you out of business. So what we do is we make sure that you have a positive cash flow plan in action, so that if anything happens to you or your business, we can make sure that you have some type of a way for your business to continue while you recuperate from an accident or a sickness. We provide employee benefits. We team up with companies like Aflac. Everyone's heard of the dog. We team up with companies like Aflac. So if you have employees, we can also help you with supplemental benefits like the ones that Aflac puts in place. But we always start with the goose that's laying the eggs, which is the business owner. You are the person on the high wire, and a lot of times we don't have a net. As an entrepreneur, the definition of an entrepreneur is a risk taker. So we take a risk every day, but there's some risks that we really don't need to take. That's what we do. We transfer that risk that you're taking on personally, and we transfer that risk to an insurance company. That being said, thank you so much, Pamela. Hey, Harris, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, Toastmasters.
Yes.
All right, Charles, if you come forward and talk about Southstar's offer. I gotta shake your hand.
Hey guys, I'm Charles with Southstar. And we deal with cash flow also. Southstar basically ensures that small and medium-sized companies have operating capital and payroll. Technology, equipment, things of this nature. I heard somebody say in a GCA meeting that a lot of times small businesses don't go out of business, they grow out of business. You work so hard to get right there, to realize your goals and dreams that you just talked about, and if the contracts come, and it takes a minute to build a healthy cash flow. So in that gap, so that you have the cash flow for operating capital, payroll, technology, equipment, things of this nature, Southstar, that's why we exist. We are strategic partners with GCA. You'll see me over here all the time, the parts and the materials. Let's talk later. Thank you.
So with that being said, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Greg. Are there any questions? Anyone? All right. Well, we got everything done before 12. I can't believe it. Awesome. So look, don't leave the room. Meet someone, get to network with someone, meet someone you don't know, exchange cards. And if you have questions for Angie, she's still here as well.
I am. I got 5 minutes. I can hang out.
So much, Angie. We appreciate you. All right.
All right. I'm going to hang up. You guys can email me if you have questions, and network.
Yep. Thank you, Angie. I'll be emailing you. I want to know about that tiger.
All right. It's a good story. I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
All right. See you guys later.
Okay. Bye-bye.